So let's take a look at an example of how we would perform activity-based accounting using the Unterman Shirt Company. So this company makes two different types of shirts, dress shirts and casual shirts. They expect to produce 680,000 dress shirts and 120,000 casual shirts during the period. Estimated overhead for the period is $5.7 million. Direct material costs are $8.20 for each type of shirt, and direct labor costs are $6.80. Using a traditional volume-based approach, they would compute an overhead rate of $7.16 per shirt by dividing the 5.7 million total overhead costs by the total 800,000 shirts that we are expected to make. Total cost for each type of shirt would be $22.16, and the gross margin would be $8.84. So you could see that they would have the same overhead rate, the same direct material, the same direct labor, and the total cost would be the same, and the total gross margin would be the same. They decide to implement ABC costing and categorize activities in the 4 different activity cost centers. So the unit level is for costs that are incurred each time a shirt is made. Batch level is incurred each time a batch of shirts, casual or dress, is made. Product level supports either shirt, and then facility level benefits the entire process, not a line of specific shirts. So they identified the following unit level costs. So you can see that they've identified 1.296 million of the total 5.7 million here as unit level costs. So we have machine related utilities, machine maintenance, indirect labor and materials, inspection and quality control, and miscellaneous. So these are going to be our various activities that we're going to be looking at. So they decide to use direct labor hours to allocate the unit level costs. So in this example, we're not going to come up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different rates. We're actually just looking at the total unit level costs. However, if you wanted to and you had the information available to you, you could actually dig in further to these specific activities. But here we're just going to look at the total unit level, and we're going to use labor hours to allocate the costs. So we would do this by taking the total of $1.296 million divided by 320,000 as the total number of hours, coming up with a rate of $4.05. And then we would multiply that by each individual shirt's labor hours to come up with the allocated overhead of 1.1 million for dress shirts and 194,000 for casual. So you can see that they have to total the total overhead costs that you're allocating. In order to come up with a cost per shirt that's different than the allocated cost, we would take the overhead divided by the number of shirts to come up with a cost per shirt of $1.62. Then you would do the same thing for each individual activity. So here's the batch level. The batch level is based on number of setups. So you would take the total cost of 690,000 divided by the total batches of 2,300 to come up with a cost of $300 per batch. Again, we allocate it to each shirt divided by the number of shirts, and we get a cost per shirt. So here you could see that the cost per shirt is different. It's less expensive to make the dress shirts than it is the casual shirts, and that's because we need less setups for the dress shirts than we do the casual shirts. Now we're going to look at the product level costs of 1.8 million, and we're going to be allocating it based on a percentage that 30% of the cost should go to dress shirts and 70% of the cost should go to excuse me, the casual shirts. So you would take the 1.8 million times 30% and times 70%, and again, you would expect that the cost per shirt to be less for the dress shirts. They're getting a less percentage of the cost and a higher percentage of the number of shirts that it's making. It's just less expensive to make those shirts. And then finally, for the facility level cost of $1.94 million, they're basing it again on percentages. So what does this look like when we put it all together? Well, you can see that once we take the cost per shirt for each activity center at the unit, batch, product, and facility level, we're going to see that it is significantly less expensive to make a dress shirt than it is to make a casual shirt. However, you might remember that with the traditional overhead allocation, the cost was the same for both shirts at $7.16. So if we were to use the traditional method, our dress shirts would be overpriced, overcosted, and our casual shirts would be undercosted. So now let's put it all together. This is under the traditional method here and our ABC method here. So you could see that the difference would definitely result in a undercosting the casual shirt line and overcosting the dress shirt line. And we're actually losing money on the casual shirt line by pricing it at $31. So we would need to look at our casual shirts and determine if that's a good price. So should they drop the casual line? Should they increase the price of the shirt? Should they reduce the price of the dress shirts? These are all the types of questions that you can use this information to answer. So now that we have this information available to us, we can use the concept of target pricing. In other words, we're going to determine the price customers will pay for casual shirts and then try to reduce the cost so that they may be produced and sold profitably at that price. Okay. Oh, sorry, I'm skipping. So before deciding to discontinue the casual shirt line, we need to determine if there's any costs in making the shirts that could be avoided. If we can avoid any of those costs, then we would be able to reduce the costs of the casual shirt and hence increase the profitability. Typically, facility overhead costs are usually unavoidable, and we're going to talk about the concept of avoidable costs in the next chapter. So are there other costs involved, such as sales commissions, research and development costs, before making any of these decisions? These are referred to as downstream costs and upstream costs. Downstream costs are incurred after goods are manufactured. An example of this is commissions and advertising. Upstream costs are those that occur before the goods are manufactured, such as research and development. So if we have any of these costs, they're going to be relevant in the decision-making process. Employee attitudes and the availability of the data. So ABC implementation might lead to cost-cutting measures that result in job losses. Obviously, losses of jobs will impact employees' personal lives, morale of the employees that remain, and it might be difficult to get employee cooperation for successful implementation under these conditions. So you can't just look at the quantitative impact of the decisions, but you also need to look at the qualitative, which means the impact to the company and the employees. So I'm going to pause the video here, and we're going to talk about total quality management in the next video. Thank you.